Hello. I'm so excited to be here and to be a part of this event, to be speaking with you about finding happiness and strength through movement here from my home in Palo Alto, California. And to begin, I'd actually like to start with a demonstration. And I invite you to join me in moving your body for just a couple of minutes in some very simple ways. Now, you can do this seated, or you can join me and stand up if that feels good to you. And we're going to start just by lifting your shoulders on an inhale. And as you exhale, relax the shoulders and arms down. And do that one more time. Inhale, lift the shoulders. And exhale, let them go. And let's bring in the arms. So inhale, lifting the palms, and exhale, pushing down. Inhale and exhale. And you can make this movement as big as feels good. You could even stretch your arms all the way up and then press down. Inhale and exhale. You can even look up when you reach up and look down. And maybe one or two more times, maybe even stretching the arms out to the side. This is wonderful. I can see you all doing it with me. I'm so happy that you're actually doing it with me. So moving with the breath, that's one way to move. We can also get some energy into our upper body. So maybe briskly rubbing your hands together and starting to rotate your torso. And with that, whatever room you have, you can start to reach the arms out in front of you, stretch them into space, and then stretch them out and just feel that energy in your fingers. And then you can make some tight fists, almost like a boxer. And then you can start to roll the arms and see what it feels like to move with some speed and some power. Again, almost like you were a boxer punching a light bag. And go as fast as you can and see if it feels good to move with speed. Yes, and then just shake that out. One last movement experiment, and this is a big stretch. It's about taking up space and breathing deeply. Take one arm up and lean to the side. Again, if you're in a chair, you can just hold on to the side of your chair and reach. You could bring your hand behind your head. And as you pause here, breathe deeply into your chest, breathe into your belly, breathe into your side rib cage. And then try the other side. Take up a whole lot of space. Lean in, maybe support your head, maybe look up. And see if you can expand that feeling of stretch by breathing in deeply. And let that go. And just notice how you feel. So I know I can notice that one thing I'm feeling is my heart rate is up just a little bit and I'm breathing more fully and deeply. And I feel energized. And maybe you feel some of these things too. This is known as the feel better effect. As little as a couple of minutes of movement can improve your mood. I'm a psychologist and I specialize in understanding the mind-body relationship. And what I know is that moving your body is one of the most effective ways to create happiness and resilience. Happiness can begin by getting your heart rate up. Hope can begin in your muscles, and courage can be found by moving with others. Now, around the world, people who are more physically active are also happier. And this is true whatever their preferred activity. Walking, cycling, swimming, playing sports, doing yoga. People who are more active have a stronger sense of purpose. They feel more connected to their communities, and they experience more positive emotions, including gratitude and hope and even love. And this has been especially true during the COVID-19 pandemic. Studies conducted around the globe show that physical activity during the pandemic is strongly linked to psychological well-being. Movement is protecting people from depression, anxiety, and loneliness. Now, one thing I want to be clear about is that it's not just that happier people move more. It's also true that moving more can make you happier. That's what interventions conducted around the world with people of all ages and all physical abilities show. Moving more can make you happier. It's an effective intervention, an effective strategy for improving your mental health. And you don't have to be young, you don't have to be fit or an athlete. You just have to move your body in whatever ways you can, and ideally in ways that you enjoy. So today, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 strategies for harnessing the power of movement to create happiness and resilience, even in challenging times like the ones that we're in now. So you've already met the first strategy, and that was the feel better effect, that immediate boost in energy and mood that you can get from as little as 3 minutes of movement. We know that if you're feeling low in energy and negative, maybe depressed, demoralized, or tired, that just a little bit of any kind of movement can invigorate you and make you feel more optimistic. If you're feeling really charged up with negative energy, like you're feeling anxious or angry, moving your body can help you move through some of that energy and transform it into a more positive state so that you feel ready to take on the world. So what causes the feel better effect? Well, first of all, as soon as you get your heart rate up even just a little bit, you get a hit of adrenaline, and that gives you energy. When you use your muscles, your brain releases dopamine, and that improves mood, motivation, hope, and confidence. And we also know that when you breathe more fully and deeply, that can induce positive emotions like confidence and joy. This is why a very small dose of movement can make you feel better. So to get the feel better effect, all you need to do is move your body in any way that either gets your heart rate up or that deepens your breathing. So you can do a few yoga stretches, you can shadow box, you can go for a walk or climb some stairs. But I'm going to let you in on a secret to amplifying the feel better effect. And that is to add music. Music, like movement, can immediately improve your mood and give you more energy. And we also know that when you move to music, you get an even bigger dose of dopamine and adrenaline. And I actually, whenever I want to lift my spirits, I put on a favorite song and dance to it. And I even have a ritual of dancing before I give a talk like this, because I know it's the best way to transform any anxiety into enthusiasm. So we're actually going to do this now. We're going to try. We're going to see if the technology works. I'm going to put on a song, and we're going to do those same movements that I led you through, but just to music that has some joy in it. So for 90 seconds, I'm going to invite you to move with me and apparently move with my cat. Let's get her out of the way. So she bring the voice at the night. Shoes on, get up in the morning, cup of milk, let's rock and roll. Kick out, get the drum, rolling on like a rolling stone. Sing song when I'm walking on, jump up to the top of the ground. Big girl, call me on my phone, nice tea, and I got my ping pong. Let's play baseball. Okay. So I hope you were able to get a little joy out of that, that you were able to hear the music If you were, notice how you feel. I feel even better. And that's my strategy for the feel better effect. But I encourage you to look for moments in the day when you can find a form of movement that energizes you. It can be so simple. Don't think of it as a workout. It's just a little burst of movement. And you can use this strategy whenever you want to feel a little pick-me-up. Okay, so for the second strategy, when COVID-19 hit California, I immediately began to shelter in place, and I was unable to see my family and friends. The classes that I teach at Stanford were canceled, then moved online, and I was pretty isolated, and the future was very uncertain. And the best thing that I did was I bought a heavy boxing bag, and I started to box almost every day. Kicking and punching that heavy bag was empowering. I felt fierce, like a fighter. And at the end of every boxing workout, I felt incredible and I felt ready to focus on what I could do that day to connect with others and to make progress on my goals. So what I just described is an example of the persistence high. And the persistence high is the major reset in brain chemistry and outlook that comes from challenging your body through movement. When you challenge your body, your brain releases endorphins and endocannabinoids. These are brain chemicals that help you physically persist. They decrease pain and give you energy. But they also decrease negative emotions like self-doubt or worry. And they increase positive emotions like happiness, pleasure, hope, and feeling connected to others. So why would your brain reward you for physical effort with this kind of neurochemical high? Well, scientists believe that the persistence high is part of how humans have survived for hundreds of thousands of years. We humans need to be able to do difficult things, and we often need to cooperate with one another to do them. And so our brains have developed a way to reward us for working hard, to help us persist, and to encourage us to connect with others. And when you exercise, your brain understands that you're doing something hard and important, and it gives you this chemical high that empowers you to do difficult things, that helps you take joy in the effort, and even helps you reach out to others. Now, importantly, the persistence high lasts long after a workout. You carry that good feeling with you into the rest of your day. And that's one reason why on days when people exercise, they're more likely to make progress on an important goal. And they also are more likely to have positive interactions with friends and family. That's what the research shows, that exercise can basically make you a better version of yourself. Now, to get the persistence high, all you need to do is find an activity that challenges you and that you can sustain for at least 20 minutes. And there are so many activities that can create a persistence high. But if you want the most benefit, find an activity that gives you a sense of purpose, like boxing does for me. And that's because the persistence high isn't only about your brain chemistry. It's also about how good you feel about what you've accomplished. Movement has meaning. When you strength train, when you lift weights, you can literally sense your own strength. When you run, you can sense yourself making progress and moving forward in life. When I box, I can physically sense courage. Look for an activity that makes you feel this way about yourself, as someone who can persist, as someone who can take on a challenge. Now, because the persistence high sets you up for the whole rest of the day, you'll get an added benefit from moving earlier in the day. I try to exercise first thing when I wake up, not because I'm a morning person, but because I know that that persistence high will prepare me to meet whatever challenges the day brings. So that's a goal to work towards, to begin your day with movement that both challenges and inspires you. Okay, so one more strategy. In September, I was able to start teaching outdoor dance classes after 6 months of not teaching. And after our first class back, one of the women in this photograph sent me an email. She wrote, "I almost died of an overdose of happiness after class on Thursday. I was thrilled to be dancing again with you and my fellow dancers. Thank you so much for bringing us back together." You know, any type of movement can improve your mood, but there's something special about moving with other people. That intense happiness that the woman in my class described, psychologists call that collective joy. It's the self-transcendence and empowerment that comes when we move with other people. And collective joy is a universal human capacity. That is why in every culture that has ever been studied in history, moving with other people is a core part of that culture, whether it's through races or rituals, dance and celebration, sports and competition. Moving together is one of the ways we come together. When we move with others, there's a sense of shared purpose that builds community, feelings of belonging and trust. Now, that feeling of connection is actually not the only benefit of collective joy. Collective joy also changes how we feel about the obstacles in our lives. So for example, after you have moved with someone else, gone for a walk with someone, or taken a group class, people are more likely to say that the problems in their life are solvable. They're more likely to believe that positive change in the world is possible. And they're also more likely to believe that they aren't alone in whatever struggles they're facing. And collective joy can be especially important after a crisis. For example, researchers have looked at the benefits of exercise after a natural disaster. And they found that any type of exercise, including exercising alone, can help prevent depression as you move forward from a disaster or a crisis. But there are much stronger benefits from moving with others. I'm sure this is one of the reasons why the women in my dance class were so eager to come back together as we continue to cope through this COVID crisis. Now, to experience collective joy, you just need to move with other people. So you can go for a walk or run with a friend. You can join a sports team or a training group or take a class. But believe me, I know during the COVID pandemic, social exercise is not always possible. And the good news is there's so many ways to move with other people virtually. You can move with others through video and on social media. You can join a virtual training group or participate in a virtual event where people all over the world complete the same physical activity on the same day, like running a half marathon. Collective joy is such a powerful human instinct. We can tap into it even when our connection to others is mediated by distance and technology. So I hope that you will be able to make use of some of the ideas that I shared with you today. As philosopher Doug Anderson writes, the transformative traits of movement are available to each of us if we will awaken to them, if we will pay attention to our own experiences. And today, I shared with you some of my experience with the joy of movement, but now it's time to trust your own body. I want you to remember that 3 minutes of movement can transform your mood. 20 minutes of challenging your body through exercise can prepare you to face the day with hope and courage. And moving with others can create community and inspire a deep confidence in your ability to help create a more positive future. Let your body be a resource for happiness and resilience. Look for the movements and the activities that make you feel good and that make you feel good about yourself. This is how you will find your own joy of movement. Thank you.
네, 여러분. 열정적인 강연을
Thank
펼쳐준
you.
켈리 맥고니걸 박사에게 다시 한번
Please
큰
give a
박수
big round of
부탁드립니다.
applause to Kelly
와,
McGonigal
정말
for
신기한 게요.
her
켈리
sharing.
박사가 여러분에게 동작을 소개해 드릴 때 저는 여러분의 표정을 지금 볼 수가
As
있잖아요.
Kelly was
간단한
explaining
동작인데도
the
따라하면서 정말
exercises, and
마치
I was
약속한
watching the
것처럼
face of the
모두 다 환하게
viewers,
웃는 모습에 저는
and
깜짝
as
놀랐어요.
people were
그 모습을
following you,
통해서
people were
말씀하신
just
것처럼
smiling,
행복감과 또
and
긍정적인 에너지를
I felt the
확실하게
positive
느낄
and
수가
happy energy in
있었습니다.
people's
자,
faces.
많은 질문이 들어와 있는데요.
I'm
그러면은
so glad to hear
하나하나
that. I was, first of all, just so happy that people were moving along. And that's a great example of collective joy. I mean, the
네.
feeling that I got when I looked and I didn't realize I was going to be able to see people doing it with me. And I got some of that uplift and sense of strength that I described as collective joy.
맞습니다. 이게
Yes, that's
혼자서
right.
하는 거에서 그치는 게 아니라 같이 할 때 그
When you
에너지가 더
do it
배가가 되는 것
together, I
같아요.
think that energy
행복감도
is
전염이 되는 게
somehow
아닌가 그런 생각을
doubled. I
해봤는데요.
think your
그럼
happiness
바로
is
Q&A 세션을 진행해
expanded.
보도록
So
하겠습니다.
let's move on
저희가
to our
받은
Q&A
질문
session.
순서대로 여쭤볼
We've got
텐데요.
lots of
먼저
questions.
이런 질문이 들어왔네요.
First question is this.
사람에 따라서는 오히려
Depending on the people, some
참선이라든지 또
people
기도
feel that
등으로 심박수를
meditation and praying
다운시켜서 안정감과 행복감을
gives
느끼라고
them
강조하는
sense
사람들도
of
있습니다.
stability and happiness
이런
by bringing
내용은 연사께서
down their
말씀하신
heart
내용과는 조금
rate
다르게
and feeling
느껴지는데요.
calm.
이건
It's a
글쎄요,
little bit
어떻게 설명할 수
different
있을까요?
from your sharing. How can you explain that?
Yeah, so I think that they're actually both wonderful strategies. So sometimes we need to balance what we're feeling by calming down. And meditation, relaxation techniques, prayer can be wonderful for that. But many times we also need to feel empowered. We need to feel energized, and we need to feel ready to engage with life. And particularly when during this COVID-19 pandemic, so many people are reporting that sort of that loss of drive or that loss of hope. And so what we know from how the mind and body are connected is that often things that increase energy, that get your heart rate up a little bit, that deepen your breathing, that's part of how your body understands that you are ready to engage with life. And so while you might not do a dance party right before you need to go to sleep at night, it's a wonderful thing to do when you're looking for emotions and mindsets that really are connected to your ability not to withdraw or to reflect, but to step forward, to engage, and to connect with others.
네네. 명상이라든지 기도 역시 나의 마음을 다스릴 수 있는
Yes,
한 가지
I think
방법이다.
prayer
이렇게 제안해
or
주셨는데요.
meditation
다음
is,
질문 이어가도록
you
하겠습니다.
said that
이건
it's
저도 그런
also a
경험이
way
있기 때문에
to
좀
calm
궁금한
yourself
부분인데요.
down, but you need balance.
ZY님께서
The
How do you
other question
overcome
is
those
from
days when you just
ZY.
can't get your things together, when you're totally bummed out, when nothing really seems to lift your spirit?
Sorry, what was the first part of the question? I heard the last part.
네, 지금 연결이 좀 부자연스러워서 제가 다시 한번 질문을 드리도록
I think that
하겠습니다.
was a bad
How
connection.
do you
I'll repeat the
overcome those
question.
days when you just can't get your things together, when you're totally bummed out, when nothing really seems to lift your spirit?
So I think the question was, what do you do when you wake up and nothing seems to lift your spirits? So it's funny, I feel like you almost set me up for that with the first question, which is when I need to reach deep down and find some way to just move forward, to take that next step, to get out of bed. I actually rely on a mindset and a meditation technique that is thinking about being connected to all of the people in the world who might be feeling something similar at that time. So rather than trying to talk myself out of what I'm feeling or put on a happy face, I think about how many other people around the world are struggling with something similar, how this is part of what it means to be human, and that my own struggles are part of a human story. They don't define or reveal what's uniquely wrong with me or with my life. And there are formal meditation techniques for taking this mindset, or you can simply just bring your awareness to that idea. But I found that sort of placing my own struggle in the context of common humanity, it gives rise to this kind of compassion for other people. And compassion is actually a tremendous source of hope and courage. And so I find that I can almost get out of bed, not only for myself, but for all others, and have this aspiration that, may my ability to move forward in life, to do something positive, to do something to help others today, may that in some way support everyone who's in a similar state that I'm in. And I will also say, by the way, exercise is a tremendous resource to that degree too. And I found that there are certain workouts that meet the moment for me. So if I'm feeling anxious, boxing. If I'm feeling hopeless, dancing. If I'm feeling agitated or frustrated, yoga. And again, I think that one of the key takeaways I hope people will take is to start to think about movement as a way of meeting your emotions where you are, and then actually inviting your body to move you into a state that allows you to show up in the rest of your life with, whatever mindset or traits that you want to bring to that moment.
네, 답변 잘 들었습니다. 그러니까 그런 상황이
thank you.
온다고 하더라도 그런
So
감정은 나
when
혼자만 느끼는 것이
situation
아니라 모든
arises,
사람이
you
느낄
have
수
to
있는
realize you're
감정이다라는
not feeling that
동질감을
alone. You have
기반으로
other people
강한
feeling the same
유대감이
way.
형성이 될 수
So
있고요.
that
그런
the
순간
sense
지금
of
켈리 박사님께서
solidarity
제시한 뭐
can give you more
댄스라든지 아니면 복싱
energy.
등을 통해서
So you
몸을
can
움직이고
utilize
또 내
dancing
몸이
or
무언가를
boxing
원하는지
and
또
move your
어떤
body.
기분을 느끼고
And
있는지
you need to
생생하게 느낄 수
identify
있다라고
where
조언해
you are
주셨습니다.
at in order to
조셉
deploy different
킴님의
strategies.
질문 이어가도록 하겠습니다.
Another question from Joseph
Movement
Kim.
and endorphin is related via limbic system, which is managing the feelings. I'm managing orthopedic clinic and Pilates studio. How do you think about a psychiatric engagement toward this business to overcome the corona pandemic situation?
Hi, so I think I understand the question to be, I'm not sure that I understand the
제가
question.
질문을 잘 이해했는지 모르겠습니다.
네, 다시 한번 제가
I'm
질문을
only hearing the second half of the question. I'm
제가
sorry.
후반부밖에 들리지가 않았어요.
그럼
다시
다시
한번
한번
말씀해
질문을
주시기.
드리도록 하겠습니다. Movement and endorphin is
다시
related via limbic
말씀드리겠습니다.
system, which is managing the
움직임이라든지
feelings. I'm
엔돌핀이라는
managing
것은
orthopedic clinic
뇌에
and Pilates studio. How do you think about
번연계가 작용하는
psychiatric
것이고 그래서
engagement toward this
요가
business
스튜디오에서도
to
그런 걸
overcome
많이
the corona
활용하죠.
pandemic
그래서
situation?
코비드 19의 상황을 극복하기 위해서 이런 움직임들을 우리가
자,
어떻게
저희가
활용하면
실시간으로
좋을까요?
연결을 하고 있기
I
때문에
can only hear a translator right now, but I'm gonna give an answer to something that I think might be related to the
네.
question. So one of the things that we know is that for all psychiatric issues, that movement can help relieve that suffering. And there have been studies conducted with people who are dealing with all sorts of challenges, whether it's depression, anxiety, trauma, grief and loss, even addiction, that physical movement can be a supportive therapy for these things, either in addition to other therapies or on their own. I heard that the questioner, I think, runs a Pilates studio, and one of the things that's really amazing about Pilates is that it does two things that are really good for mental resilience and well-being. One is the use of the breath. So as I mentioned, when you unite moving your body with breathing, it actually deepens and enhances all of the psychological benefits of movement. And Pilates also engages the deep core muscles of your body. And there's really interesting research showing that engagement of the deep core muscles actually talks to the limbic system of the brain, which I think the questioner mentioned, that those muscles actually send signals to the brain that actually inhibit overactivation of the areas of the brain that can produce anxiety and strong negative emotions. It's a wonderful example of the mind-body relationship and how our minds listen to our bodies. So activities like Pilates that use the core are especially good for people who are struggling with things like anxiety.
네, 원래 질문은
Yes.
필라테스 스튜디오를 운영하고 있는
This
조셉
questioner
킴님으로부터
was
들어온
from Joseph
질문이었는데
Kim, who runs a
필라테스뿐만
Pilates
아니라 몸을
studio. It's
움직이는
not
어떠한
just Pilates,
운동이라도
but
그
all
안에서 우리
body
기분을 좋게 만들
movements
수 있는
that
요소를 찾을 수
can give
있다라는
us
말씀이셨습니다.
something to be
마지막 질문은
happier
변영옥
about.
씨가
The final
보내주셨는데
question is
시간
from
관계상 이
Byung
질문을
Ok,
끝으로 Q&A
and this will
시간은
be the
마무리하도록
last
하겠습니다.
question due to time
사실
constraint.
우울증이 있는 경우에
When you
운동이
have
효과적이라는 걸
depression,
알지만
we know that
우울증이 있는
exercise
사람은
helps,
그걸
but people who
알면서도
have
잘
depression
실천하지 못합니다.
can't really
그런
exercise
사람들한테도 도움이 될
although they
만한 켈리
know it'll
박사님의
help.
팁이 있을까요?
Is there a tip for people like this?
Yes, this is very true. And we know that one of the things that depression does is it actually impairs your desire to move. We also know that if you can get started, that even if you felt like you didn't want to move, that you can actually experience all the benefits we talked about. So that key is getting started. And there are a couple of ways that you can make it easier to get started. One is to really look for the lowest intensity, sort of lowest barrier activity that you can find. You know, maybe it's stepping outside and going for a walk. Maybe it is putting on a song and listening to it or stretching to it. And to not put a high stakes on it, or a lot of the idea that you have to exercise for half an hour or you have to work to a certain level of intensity. Because what we know is that once you get started, your brain will begin to reward you for movement, and it's so much easier to keep going. So say that you'll do 1 minute of movement and then just see how it feels, and maybe you'll want to do another minute. Another thing that is really helpful is to do it with some structure. So studies that look at exercise for depression show that doing it with the support of a coach or a trainer or with a group really amplifies the effect. And in part, it's because it helps people actually show up and do it. So I strongly encourage, this would be true not only for exercise, but if you are experiencing symptoms of depression, to ask for help and ask for other people to join in with you, because it shouldn't be something that you have to do on your own. And sometimes you have to outsource your own willpower or strength and let other people support you in taking that step. So maybe there's a friend or a family member you can invite to encourage you, or maybe you can find that social version of exercise so that you will be encouraged to get started.
네, 답변 잘 들었습니다.
Thank you very
시간
much.
관계상 모든 질문을 다 반영해드리지 못하는 점
I'm sorry that we don't have
양해 부탁드립니다.
more time to
지금까지
entertain all
켈리
the questions.
맥고니걸 박사였습니다.
Kelly
고맙습니다.
McGonigal, thank you for being with us. Thank you so much.